Hey, this is meteorologist, excuse me, Chris Smith here in the Panhandle Weather Studios. Dan Nyman, 8 feet that way.
Yeah, maybe 10, but I'm back here in Inlet Beach.
Yep.
A lot to talk about for this week, or at least what's ahead. Obviously, you might see, like if you've been watching the channel today, some rain chances creeping in, but rainfall amounts, you'll notice, are very, very low. So anything you get's much closer to a drizzle. And then a cool down this weekend. It's something we'll be talking about in the midst of what could be nearly record warmth.
We always see like the jokes about false spring and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it's true because it's going to be cold again next week. Not anywhere close to like as cold as it has been as of late, but I think inland areas could at least have a conversation about freezing temperatures in the morning time.
Yeah.
That's probably about the extent of it. And like the rain chances this week, I think are like just a big nuisance.
Yeah.
Like they're there, but they're like, you add it up, it's not going to be a lot. So it's
Even-
like a lot of numbers for not a lot of rainfall.
Even this weekend, when you talk about better chances or more robust rainfall, like you add that to the sum and it's still probably less than a half an inch of rain. So we're not looking at anything here, unfortunately, that's going to help us get out of drought conditions. And then we'll add on top of that the chance for the light freeze. And I think our friends over at the Reeves Nursery are going to be puckered up a bit this week as they get all those new plants in for spring.
Yeah, that's right. And we have 2 weeks. We're going to go out there and do a little commercial, I think, there with them. So, yeah, we want the best of the plants. Good evening, Teresa and Tanya and Carla. Thank you so much for tuning in from Sneeds and Bluntstown this evening.
Very good. We'll dive into the weather tonight. Obviously, we've been kind of kicking the can down the road, but the near-term part of the forecast, just beautiful. Outside of some fog in the morning, the sky's going to look great, and it's going to be quite warm this week.
Yeah, we're going to see temperatures getting up into the 80s across northwest Florida, at least for my friends in Bluntstown. My friends in Sneeds are going to see temperatures 80, 81, maybe even 82 degrees. David Wesley today out on Panama City Beach. Looking out towards the Gulf, you can see the waves rolling in. You can see still looking at red flags, definitely some rollers and not as choppy, if you will. And then this evening, there's that sunset, that fire red sky that he was able to capture later. The Yoopers out looking at the Sea Screamer, which was out this evening for sunset tonight. And then looking at that sunset this evening, just an absolutely beautiful evening across northwest Florida. We would love to see your sunset photos. You can always share them with us in the app. The app is absolutely free, and so far 19,535 and counting of you have downloaded the Panhandle Weather app, and we absolutely appreciate that. Now, as we take a live look outside right now at our friends over there at Sharky's on Panama City Beach, still got a few folks out there, 62 degrees. Notice the wind is out of the south, so that's a warmer wind, and that was certainly evident today, and we'll show you more on that in a minute. Also notice here, a lot of high-level clouds up into Mariana. This is the sunset fading away this evening, absolutely showing out there. Up at the Hampton Inn, Mariana I-10. And then, meanwhile, as we look over at Sacred Heart, look at that sunset this evening. Looking out towards the bay, you can see Panama City Beach off there into the distance tonight. But a very nice evening across northwest Florida. Live Doppler radars, all quiet. You can see the rip current statement now fading away down into Gulf County as things quieting down. Now, this is the one thing I wanted to show you today. I saw it on visible satellite imagery, and you see kind of like the little speckles here where the yellow arrow is. Let me show it to you here. There you see, those are low-level clouds, okay, cumulus clouds. But then you see these clouds where the red is, and those are high-level clouds that we saw this afternoon. So we saw clouds going in two different directions across our area. Low-level clouds on that southerly flow, and then upper-level clouds spilling over a ridge of high pressure to our west. So In the end, it was just a quiet day, but nonetheless kind of cool there. You have to think three-dimensionally when you talk about the weather. Temperatures right now currently into the 60s for most of us right now. You see that onshore wind that's developed over the course of the day. So as quickly as we saw temperatures this morning for a lot of us into the 40s, the warm-up has begun with southerly winds beginning to take over, and that will be critical this week to seeing those warmer temperatures that we talked about. So there you see the southerly winds coming in off the Gulf. They're going to be fairly light, at least overnight tonight, into that 5 to 10 mile an hour range. And as we move into the day on Wednesday, the winds begin to pick up a little bit. They're closer to about 10 to 12 miles an hour as we head on into your Wednesday. So for tonight, low temperatures, not 40s and 50s. We're into the 50s to even near 60 degrees. With more on the specifics of how cool it gets tonight, we go to meteorologist Dan Nyman.
And good evening to Carla and Tammy. We have Melissa in the house here as well, talking about a pretty comfortable start here. As we get in closer towards the middle of this week, temperature is going to be good to start, and then of course warmer as the day goes onwards. We're talking about some real warm high temperatures through Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and as we get off towards the weekend, a little more unsettled, but like we mentioned, not much by way of rain totals. As we go neighborhood by neighborhood for tomorrow morning, you'll find some mid-50s and inland spots, though down towards the coast, you'll get things going right around the low 60s. Pretty comfortable way to get the morning going. Closer to the low 50s as you get up through Fountain, up into northern Calhoun County. Coastal spots through South Walton, Panama City Beach, about 58 degrees, 55 up towards the airport in Bay County. As you head further south towards the Forgotten Coast, you'll have temperatures as warm as 59 degrees in St. George Island. You spread through some lower 50s as you get on the north side of the bays, and then 60 degrees over towards Cape San Blas. So again, comfortable, pretty good way to get the day going. And as we get through the rest of this week, we'll see temperatures in the same sort of neighborhood, but with those south winds Chris was talking about, might be able to introduce a little more fog as well over that time frame. We'll do the low 50s up towards the tri-state, northern counties here through I-10, about 52 to 53 degrees through Chipley, Sunny Hills there, 52 degrees. A little warmer as you get over towards Red Bay or Defuniak Springs, 55 and 54 degrees respectively. Futurecast here showing you cloud coverage really is the story through the first half of this week, and that continues as you get through Wednesday and Thursday. Sure, there's a few green dots in there and some weak forcing from a front eventually brings some later showers through the Wiregrass region. Maybe a little activity you might have seen there on Friday as well. Saturday, Sunday, same story into the warm sector here. Just a little bit of rain showery activity showing up there on the models, but ultimately, even if you see the rainfall, rain totals not going to be all that high. In fact, as we get through this entire period of time, Chris, where there's just about 4.5 days of rain chances, half an inch is the best you're going to do. So those drought conditions more than likely worsen on the next 2 drought monitors.
Yeah, and in the end, it's just going to end up plain old cold. So if you have any outdoor plans that you're fretting about this week, not saying it isn't going to rain, but it's not anything at this point that I would be adjusting my plans too much. I think probably our best chance will come in Friday, Saturday. And then Saturday with that front. And what you're seeing on Sunday, I think, is going to probably be before you even get up on Sunday morning.
Yeah, most noticeable thing Sunday, probably wind shift and then cold by the start of the next work week. The kids probably bundling up a bit, but a pretty insignificant impact from the cold outside of that light freeze. We'll have more on that in just a few minutes.
When it comes to building, local experience matters. At Mid-South Lumber, our team knows the job, and we'll help you get it right the first time. From weekend DIY projects to full custom builds, you'll get solid materials, fair prices, and service you won't find at a big box store. That's why we're the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. Mid-South Lumber. Shop local. Build with confidence. Let's quote your next project today.
Your piece of land demands the very best equipment. Kubota equipment. The #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S. With professional grade mowers, versatile sidekick utility vehicles, and compact tractors that get it done right. All backed by unmatched dealer support. Talk to your dealer today to schedule a demo.
See it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute pre-diabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Find something you love with great deals this month at Panama City Toyota. Get 1.99% APR on a new Camry, rated Best Midsize Car by Kelley Blue Book, plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Get 2.49% APR on the Rocket Tacoma, plus 90 days until your first payment. And get 2.49% APR on the powerful Tundra, plus 90 days until your first payment. Come check out our showroom or browse online at Panama City Toyota.
Now, from your trusted team of meteorologists at Panhandle Weather, this is your evening forecast update.
Hey, and a good evening. Meteorologist Chris Smith here, Panhandle Weather Studios. Meteorologist Dan Nyman also here in the house, literally in the house this evening. Yeah, we got some warm weather and then cold weather on the way this week.
Classic February forecast for us as temperatures go up just enough to make you get spring fever, and you might even think about doing some yard work this weekend with the warmth, just in time for it to be undone by the chance of at least a light freeze north of Highway 20 as we get into early next week. But up and down, still a story this time of year. We have a little more than a month to go before we certainly end the freeze conversation for good. Not to say it'll be that long before our last, but it's certainly possible all the way through the end of March. So we'll continue with the ebbs and flows this week with a little bit of everything for everyone in the forecast.
Yeah, last freeze for the beaches can oftentimes be the latter part of February, which we're rapidly coming up on, but inland areas still usually have a little bit of time. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what's going on. Jesse likes the weather. Well, I hope you like this weather this evening as we take a look out over into Destin tonight, looking over at Harbor Walk Village and across the Marlar Bridge and off into the distance, that daylight fading away, but the southerly winds evident across our area. That's also the case over into Panama City, where we're looking at mostly cloudy skies and right now milder conditions, at least into the 60s with that southerly wind at about 6 miles per hour. Currently out over into Pineapple Willie's there. You see a little bit of daylight still sneaking through. They did switch the beach flags from red to yellow flags this afternoon. Over into Mariana, you're right now at 66 degrees, point of 60 in the south currently, 6 miles per hour. Meanwhile, over into downtown Panama City, look at that. The sky is sparkling there, looking absolutely gorgeous from atop the hospital there, Ascension Sacred Heart Bay this evening. Let's talk about those forecast headlines. Here's the scoop is what's going on. We're going to see more clouds with mild weather heading into your Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, we'll see 80s inland with some spotty rain chances. A little bit better chance, I think, on Friday. This weekend, Saturday, there's a front that comes through, and then it turns cooler after that. It'll be probably Tuesday morning that we're talking about flirting with freezing. In the meantime, we are going to see mild weather tonight. I can't rule out a little bit of fog, but it's going to be very, very patchy for sure. South and southeasterly winds at about 5 miles an hour, and this will just be the common theme here over the next several days as we'll continue to see southerly winds across northwest Florida, and that pumps in the moisture from the Gulf, and that's going to lead to these milder temperatures across our region. So if you're right now over into Pensacola or Milton and over into Destin tonight, you continue to see that moisture just streaming in from the Gulf. But again, don't be surprised if you don't see a little patchy fog in a few spots. Winds pick up, I think, a little bit more on Thursday as that pressure gradient tightens, and that just funnels in that moisture even more across our area. So temperatures for tonight, 50s, pretty much area wide. So we're not talking about 40s and 50s, mainly 50s. Kids heading to school on Wednesday, maybe some fog very briefly for drop-off. After school, you're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, more clouds and sunshine, and temperatures into the middle 70s. And we'll keep those 70s going throughout the daytime on Wednesday, pretty much area wide. Notice Thursday morning, we start to see temperatures into the 50s and 60s, but then the warm-up really takes hold. Look at that. You're looking at temperatures into the 80s, 80s inland, 70s expected down along the coastline. Big ridge of high pressure. Now, this is the setup, at least for right now, with this big ridge. across the eastern 2/3 of the country, below average temperatures out across the western part of the country. And we saw temperatures today 20 to 30 degrees above average from the Midwest through the northern plains all the way down through the southern plains. Some very mild weather even into tomorrow. Same general area, very, very warm weather. Meanwhile, for us, we remain on the fringe, but we start to really see by Thursday the warm up across northwest Florida. Now for tomorrow, again, below average out to the west, above average to the east. But this will flip just a bit as we head into next week. To talk more about the cooler weather, I give the bad news to Dan, and he's going to talk more about that now.
Yeah, we seem to be the bad news here in these hits. As we talk about pattern changing, we saw early on this year, as we had those several weeks of below average temperatures, this was kind of reversed. We had the ridge out west, that trough kind of moved across towards the east coast, and it was persistent, as these patterns so often are. Eventually with this, you'll see this ridge, although not flattening out a whole bunch, it'll move off towards the east just a bit, and we will start to tap into that trough towards the west, at least briefly, dropping temperatures back down for a cool start to next week. Until we get there, at least with the southerly flow Chris was mentioning, moisture increasing, your rain chances increasing as well. But while the chance of rain might look high, the actual rain accumulation is not going to be all that impressive from any of this that you're seeing over the next 7 days. You'll notice the cloud coverage and some morning fog by Thursday as well, but not so much the persistence of any rainfall. With the low totals we're looking out for, most of this is just a thin drizzle riding through within that south flow across the area. Weak forcing from that front as it slides across the area. You see some showers through the wiregrass, some in southwest Georgia, and then of course briefly down through the Panhandle as well. Getting towards this weekend, perhaps better chances of rain as the next front starts to roll on through. You see through Saturday, just a few blips out there, but again, not impressive as far as rain. And if Sunday, we could already be moving out of that back towards clear skies with northwesterly winds helping to drive down temperatures once again. Sunday night into Monday going to be cool, but the coldest of them all probably not until Tuesday morning. Here's the forecast rainfall over the next 7 days. Better accumulation totals as you get towards the north of our area. You'll see here for the Florida Panhandle, it really isn't all that impressive. If you're fortunate, maybe more than 1/4 of an inch of rainfall, but that's kind of what we're broad brushing here across the area. And notice down towards the Forgotten Coast, even lower rainfall totals than that, as you see anywhere from Pensacola to Panama City, Tyndall Air Force Base, getting anywhere from a little more than 1/4 of an inch to right around that location. As far as this weekend's forecast, big changes then. You see here 81 degrees for Saturday with a decent chance of showers briefly throughout the day. By Sunday, we're back down into the 60s. By Monday morning, we're starting off in the 30s and low 40s. And then, of course, the cool weather continues through Tuesday morning too, as eventually this trough moves towards the east and brings the cooler weather back towards the Gulf Coast. There you see that big dip in that troughy sort of setup as you get across the east coast. It settles in for a brief period of time here Monday and Tuesday, but already you're seeing back west ridging starting to build back in. So your temperature trend is one that's warm at first but cooler later. Low temperatures getting up through the 60s as we get towards the weekend, but we drop back down to the 30s as we start off next week. Your 6 to 10 day temperature trend, warm west, perhaps a little cooler as you get across the east coast of the country. And you'll notice here, confidence is not all that high in that, so there's a good chance that we could see things flip as we get a little bit closer. There's certainly not a guarantee with any of that. There is, however, a bit more confidence as you get from the 25th to March 3rd of warmer than average temperatures. And you'll see that in your 7-day forecast as we get up through the 60s here into the 70s at the coast through the next couple of days. Cooler to start next week, but with sunshine. Inland areas up into the 80s briefly for Friday and Saturday. Decent chance of rainfall, but again, Chris, the rain chances might be high. Rain totals are not.
Yeah, I think, it looked like maybe through Wednesday of next week, and then we start to warm things up again. But then there were indications maybe another front after that. Now, nothing was like looking absurdly cold, so I think as a whole, it'll be a little bit more of an ebb and flow there. But as Dan was mentioning with the 7-day or the climate outlook, again, it's very, very fringe. But that's reflective of the fact that at least the end of the weekend, start of next week, is going to be definitely on the cooler side across our area. And I think that's where you're kind of seeing that. But it's kind of brief because when you go out to days 8 through 14, we turn orange, and it's not just like pale blue or pale orange. It's kind of a solid orange.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I think these graphics are often misunderstood, especially when you're in television and you get 2 minutes to talk about the forecast.
Yeah.
But it's easy to see the deeper shades of blues and be like, wow, it's going to be extremely cold. But technically, Chris, it could be 2 degrees below average, but you're very, very sure of that.
Yes.
And you'll get all the way over here into deeper shades of blue. It's a confidence in what the temperatures will be like compared to normal, and that can often be something that is a little difficult to wrap your head around because the forecast itself might not be all that extreme in one direction or another. The positive, though, is I know we have a few folks that watch nightly who are excited about a bit of a brief cool down, but then the folks who are just completely sick of winter, the 8 to 14-day forecast is at least confident that will be above average. And you'll see on the 7-day forecast that average for coastal locations is typically getting up into the upper 60s. Average temperatures for high temperatures in the inland locations in the Panhandle, a touch warmer than that.
Yeah, I'm not ignoring you. What I was looking up is local climate. Jesse was asking, he's over in Milton. He said, our first 80-degree temperature of the year. I went back. Now, this is from a WeatherStem camera. So, I mean, they're good, but the 11th of February, so that was what, 6 days ago?
I remember that.
It hit, at least according to this, it hit 80.1. So they've actually technically in Milton already hit it, and this is at the high school, if I'm not mistaken, Milton High School. So they hit 80.1 on the 11th. You know, now the days leading up and prior to that was 71, 74, 80, 73, 75, 70. So 80 definitely sticks out. So I'm not 100% convinced, but I was also like thinking about going over and looking at like the Pensacola, to the climate report for Pensacola and see where in the ballpark they were, how close were they. Now they're a little closer to the water, but still.
And there's some interesting stuff to think about with this week's forecast. Obviously, it's already looking like a pretty warm one, but I think some of the high temperature might depend on like the sunshine versus the models. You saw a lot of clouds as we took the Futurecast out through Thursday and Friday, and there's that hint of morning fog that persists a little bit in some spots. If you get that to burn up a bit, there's a chance that these temperatures are maybe a little underdone. And then, of course, we're kind of shooting the gap here, just taking averages, because on the flip side, if we get more clouds and fog lasts longer, you might see these temperatures maybe not quite get back into the 80s. So that'll be an interesting sort of game to play for this week, because things could get a little more impressive, a little closer to record highs for some of those days towards the end of the week inland. The coast is a little more locked in with the water temperatures. And then, of course, Austin Allen stopping by, loves the cooler weather, but loves the storms the most. There's like an outside chance of a thunderstorm as you get towards this weekend, but I think the timing, as it almost always is this time of year, doesn't look to be on our side completely to get those lightning photography shots out too much for Austin.
Let's see, Pensacola was at... let's see, their record for today is 81 back in 75. What did I say? That was the 11th? Let's go back to the 11th here.
And Jesse's weather station recorded 82 degrees on the 11th as well, and 80.6 on January 10th. That was just before the 5 weeks of winter, it felt like, to wrap up the month and get into the start of February.
Okay. So on February the 11th, at Pensacola, the max temperature was 80. And the record, obviously, 80 now in 2026. So that Milton temperature must be right. So this would not be necessarily the first 80-degree temperature.
Yeah, it's warm nonetheless, though.
Yes.
And Jessica's hoping we keep it in the 70s in the day, 50s at night. I think we'll be able to do that at least for a couple of days next week. And Melissa's just happy to have me in the house again. My house soon is going to look just like this. It's almost ready, which means you won't be able to know. I'm not going to put the little hint at the bottom.
Yes, we'll just
let you guess.
We could do like a nightly giveaway. Where's Dan?
Yeah, we'll make it a guess. And then soon I'm going to have the technology that'll just be the AI version of myself, and I'll be on the beach.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So basically, long story short, this week, it starts getting warm on Thursday. Rain chances start creeping in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but it's nothing that I'm like overly concerned about. Very spotty stuff. And then cooler next week. I think that's everything in a nutshell.
Yep, we really could have done that in about 15 seconds, but 30 minutes it is.
Yes.
The weather, of course, continues on the channel for the rest of the night tonight, and 24/7 on YouTube and Roku. Still in progress on the others. Many have been asking, but I'm hopeful about the approval and the finishing of the coding of those here soon. Keep locked in on the channels. Tell your friends to download the Panhandle Weather app too, because
20,
we are right on the doorstep of 20,000 followers or downloads.
Downloads, yeah, that's fantastic. Y'all be good.
That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.